In the latest Cyberpunk 2077 news, CDPR Quest Director Pavel Sasko and acting lead Quest designer Philippe Weber revealed a myriad of interesting details about the design of the game, including a possible hint of upcoming content. Concerning romances, some still hold the misconception, based on data-mined audio files or mods, that a female Panam romance and Judy male romance was cut from the game. That was not the case. It is easier for voice actors to record all permutations of dialogue during their sessions, rather than asking the actor to come back in to record lines again. The phrase "cut content" is used in a malicious manner, when the reality is certain mechanics or content did not fit the vision for the final version of the game, or was replaced with something that CDPR thought would be better.
The production reality is that for simplicity, we record everything. Because you as a player, you can be a male or a female with a male or female voice. What we do, we actually record, in most cases, all the variants. That's why sometimes you find in the game lines that are not used. But female V and Panam were never supposed to have a romance. Like, I actually think because Philip, who's with us, Philip, you were like actually one of the key people at the beginning helping out with Nomad's storyline, right? And I remember...
Yeah, so I started the design process and like did the first versions of the quests that we basically called Panam Romance.
Yeah.
But then, let's say, the team in Krakow actually took that over and of course did then the final versions of these quests, while I moved on to our buddy Takemura here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important to emphasize here, because like when you guys are doing like data mining, whatever, you're sometimes finding things, and I see it like very often misinterpreted, saying like, hey, this was cut from the game. Like our design, and I was speaking about it many times, was that Judy will be always a homosexual romance, and Panam will be always a heterosexual romance, and there was no way, never, a version that those things were in any form in the game. The fact that the voice lines are there, it's because we always record all the variants. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand it. Because like, when you have a game as massive as Cyberpunk, and you have, on top of that, I think, Philip, we have 10 languages, right, that we have recorded? I think 10 languages, right, have the VO versions.
Yeah, or like, even 11?
Or 11, could be. And imagine, guys, that you take all the lines times 11, and in all those countries, you know, where you have to like schedule hundreds of actors per each language, it becomes incredibly complex. That's why, and it's a normal thing in the industry. It's not a thing that we kinda do. It's pretty much a normal thing in the industry. You very often record way more than you will actually need, just to be sure that you do not miss anything. That's why you sometimes may find stuff that looks like a leftovers, but it's not really. It's just, it was recorded basically from the start, not to be used really, like, because it's much easier to manage as a process. And I get it that it's maybe a bit difficult for you to like understand and imagine it, but just like imagine the numbers, right? The whole game times 11 times 300 actors in each language. Imagine how complicated it is, and then, you know, stretched in like few years time, right? It is really complex process.
Last time I was here, I was with Carrie. This Latino hunk gave us a lap dance. Cheeks so smooth, I could almost see my own reflection.
I thought you prefer girls.
Mostly. Now and then I swung both ways. The more the merrier.
On the question of when the full version of Samurai's song Archangel will be released, Philippe said the full version sounds awesome.
Archangel full version when? Grillowana Kiełbasa? I have no idea, to be completely honest with you.
I can only say that the full version sounds really awesome.
Thanks, Philip. Thanks. We shouldn't do it to them, you know that.
As I have been covering CDPR and Cyberpunk 2077 for years, all I can say is that when Weber drops a hint, things usually happen in Night City.
Hey people, this is Maximum Mike, the voice of Night City. This one's gonna bring back some memories, people. It's Johnny Silverhand. bring you Archangel. Coming right at you from the dark past, Johnny Silverhand on one of his biggest and most thoughtful hits, Archangel. Sort of makes you think, yeah, that was Johnny Silverhand playing his big hit, Archangel.
On the topic of a Ciri cameo and fan service, Weber explained one of the reasons why CDPR opted not to do it was the potential difficulty of mixing Andrzej Sapkowski's universe with Mike Pondsmith's and the repercussions for the lore. The current references are deliberately vague, so that while Witcher fans can make the connections, it does not break immersion. While it is a sound position to have, in contrast, there are several references and cameos in the game which are perceived as immersion breaking, add nothing of value to proceedings, and to put it mildly, feel like misconceived marketing decisions.
If we really would have Ciri now appear in Cyberpunk as a character, we would also just kind of mix Andrzej Sapkowski's Witcher universe with Mike Pondsmith's Cyberpunk universe. And, in a way, that would also be, I don't know, for me, myself, feeling a little self-serious, like, they're connected. And, then we would kind of, I know, of course, this is not as important, but in a way, it would also feel like we're making it canon now that they're connected. And in a way, we also kind of respect those things in a way that maybe we don't want to go that far. But let's say, little references like, a certain magazine with Ciri on the cover appearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, Witcher jackets, I think such like that is always cool. Or when Ciri talks about, seeing a world where people wage war from far away and have like metal ships. Of course, if you know that it's about Cyberpunk, that kind of works. But in the context of Witcher Wild Hunt, if you wouldn't know about Cyberpunk, it can still be something that's immersive. And I think that's this kind of balance that we usually try to do. But I wouldn't say I'm the authority on that. That's my personal opinion. So if any day we would do that, probably there would have to be a really good reason.
I feel really like the same. Like I really think like and on the streams I was talking many times about like guys, something that I call like responsibility of a designer. Like you as a designer, you have a responsibility for your fan base, audience, however you call them, for the players, to build it in a way that it makes sense, right? And the things that Philip just gave you, those are like implications that you do not always want to give, and you just want to like, I think, balance, carefully between, like those being self-referential and really like keeping the world intact, believable and immersive. And you can just actually make a disservice to yourself and to your own game if you are doing things like that and building it like that.
Concerning Meredith Stout, Weber confirmed that when breaking into the Arasaka Industrial Park, having Stout help you was considered. Even though it was a cool idea, ultimately it was decided there were already too many options to include a Militech angle.
If there were any considerations to involve a Militech angle for the Arasaka Industrial Park infiltration. Without revealing too much, I considered it once that as an example, if Meredith Stout was alive, that she can help you there.
Yeah,
that was one of these cases where we just had so many moving parts already that we basically had to choose, what we can do and what we can't. So even though this is a really cool idea, we couldn't do it in this case.
Yeah. It's just like budget understood as a time of people involved just didn't allow it. Like, and as a designer, you very often actually face stuff like that.
In terms of Cyberpunk 2077 coverage, it's been quiet as CDPR have shifted their focus to 2022. During a recent visit to Poland, I saw a few exciting things which I cannot talk about, but when the time comes, I will naturally go all in again. Currently, I am covering Baldur's Gate 3 from Larian Studios, an RPG with real quality, and put out a 1,000-hour review, which you might find interesting. And remember to keep on chipping in.